It's already 1-0 in favour of TGR in a 50-minute slugfest of a first game. And we're going to see who's going to be able to take this series, whether or not Gaming Emotion are going to be able to bring it back to a 1-1, or whether it's going to be a 2-0 sweep for TGR, and whether they're going to be able to push through to the next round. And, I mean, it's all on the line right now for Gaming Emotion White. If they lose one more game, they are out of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the early game, it was fairly even from both. The biggest mistakes coming out from Enza, giving away a few too many kills over to Wilson. So hopefully he doesn't make the same mistakes this game. However, they have decided to leave the Elise open. So same bans as last game coming out from the side of TGR. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a change-up. They decided to take away the Nunu rather than the Alistair from the side of Gaming in Motion, which means that the Alistair is instantly first pick for Freudian Slip this game.
Yep.
So we will see a bit more aggression, a bit more reliable engage coming out from the side of TGR this game.
Just to clarify, by the way, before we get too deep into Champion Select, we both have English accents. Neither of us are Scottish or Irish. He can do a Welsh accent, but I'm not sure which one of us you think has a Scottish or Irish accent, but I assure you we don't. My accent is from Doncaster, and yours is...
Well, I do live in Wales.
That is true.
But my brother's from Manchester.
Manchester.
Well, I don't sound like that.
Nobody does.
No.
Especially not people from Manchester.
Right, anyway, meanwhile, we do have the Sivir and the Gragas locked in from GIM. Sivir very strong, as well as Gragas in the current meta, very meta champions. We've discussed in depth about how popular Sivir is among all compositions because of the wave clear she provides, the utility that she offers, and she is still an AD carry, so she can still do the damage, do the deeps when it matters. So very solid, safe pickups from the side of Gaming in Motion White.
No ban on the Malzahar.
Nope.
So maybe, just maybe, we see Wilson go with that pick again now in the first game. If you missed it, Wilson went crazy on that Malzahar, picking up billions of kills. Billions of kills. 8-1 and 8 was it? It wasn't indeed quite billions then, but 16 that he was part of. And we're seeing the Fizz hovered over, and a Bard. I would love to see the Bard locked in. We don't get to see too many Bards. It seems like Bard is still a very tentative pick for a lot of players. It's kind of it's a very complex champion in playstyle, and I think it takes a lot more practice to be able to use it properly. And we do see it locked in, so Ginseng obviously confident in his Bard ability, although could be a Bard mid. You never know. Seems very unlikely.
I personally love Bard jungle. However, my friends refuse to let me play it and say it's not a real thing.
Well, I have played Bard mid before.
Have you?
With Lichbane, your passive does obscene amounts of damage. You can two-shot people.
I imagine
once you get to 6 items.
6 items, yeah, I can imagine so.
But so can every other AD carry, so it kind of becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, the problem with Bard is that there are stronger supports at the moment in the current meta. So it's not that Bard is weak, it's just that it's like when we talked about LeBlanc versus Syndra earlier. Those aren't exactly weak champions. They both can be played well. However, in terms of mid laners,
they're just sort of outshone.
Yeah, they're out. That's precisely the word. So while Bard isn't necessarily a bad pick, it would just argue that something like Alistair, maybe a Janna as well, would just be stronger. So we shall see. It is clearly a comfort pick, coming out from Ginseng. And they are going to run a Sivir Bard lane, so something I'm not very familiar with, I'm not going to lie. However, having watched many Crepo streams, I know that Bard is the best champion in the game, and he can't possibly lose that lane. So I expect many kills and much action over in the bottom lane coming from the side of GIM White.
We could well have a lot of action in this middle lane as well. Ahri versus Orianna. Now this is a mid lane matchup that's kind of a bit of a classic. It did used to be played a lot, and it was sort of a little bit of a skill matchup in whether or not Orianna can dodge away from those charms, whether Ahri's going to be able to connect the damage, and as well, the same with the Shockwave. Obviously, Spirit Rush is a fantastic tool to try and dodge away from that ultimate from Orianna. So we'll see if Loz is going to be able to dance around that mid lane correctly, or whether Wilson will be able to take the edge on that Clockwork Woman. But we'll have to see. And in the jungle, we see our first Gragas of the day now. We haven't seen one yet today, but it is a very, very common pick.
Yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, it offers everything. It provides decent damage, a large amount of utility, decent wave in terms of the jungle, and he offers engage, disengage. He can build tanky. He can. You don't usually. I have seen a few. I have seen Runeglaive Gragas not work amazingly well, but I have seen it. It is a thing, I suppose.
Arguably.
Arguably.
Tenuously.
But Swift coming out with the Eve. We saw an Eve earlier that didn't work out amazingly well. They did go for the Runeglaive build, and unfortunately they were pressured out quite heavily from that Nidalee coming out from GIM Black. So we'll have to see how much. Again, it's all about that early pressure coming out from Evelynn. Like, she has invisibility and she can do a lot of early damage, a large amount of damage in the early game. So we will have to see. I would expect her to prioritize pressuring the mid lane. That would be the best lane to apply all the pressure, because as you were talking about this matchup, Orianna should have an advantage early on, purely because Orianna has much better wave clear and her damage works really well. The moment Ahri has some mobility, though, in the form of her ultimate, that's when things start to get a little bit shaky for Orianna. It really depends on how well each mid laner can trade. I mean, in terms of flat damage, Orianna should have more, especially in the early game. But Ahri, because of her massive mobility, can allow her to dodge out on a large proportion of the skills coming out from Orianna, enabling Ahri to have the advantage in that matchup. So I would argue that it's a bit of a skill matchup, and it largely depends on the mechanics of each mid laner and the amount of pressure applied from either jungler. So we will have to see how that one pans out.
We certainly will. But if we take a look at the team compositions across the board, this game should be a lot more explosive than the last one. Obviously, the last game, 50-minute slugfest, and sort of during the mid-game, it really, really slowed down. When Gaming Emotion managed to get that Baron buff, it really just kind of stopped the game in its tracks. And for 20 minutes, we were just sort of waiting for things to happen. However, with the compositions here, both of these teams want to teamfight. They want to go and force these objectives. I mean, there's a little bit more pick on the side of Gaming Emotion, but certainly both teams are very capable of teamfights, and there's a lot more hard engage on the side of TGR as they push forward. They will be able to engage with the Alistar, with the Gnar. They can go for the teleport flank and start off the fight that way, and Evelynn as well, fantastic at engaging those fights. So they'll certainly be looking to try and push that advantage if they can pull ahead in this game, and fingers crossed it should be a little bit more explosive and a little bit more team fight based.
Yeah, we should hope so. I mean, the amount of damage in terms of the team fight coming out from TGR this game is pretty massive. If they can land, if they can chain CC everything together, I mean, we saw from Cloud9 the effect of a Gnar ultimate into an Orianna ultimate, and it can be pretty destructive. So they do have quite a nice pick composition coming out from GIM White, and we saw last game they did manage to catch people out, which brought them back into the game somewhat. So with good vision control, they should be able to get the picks that they need, and they do seem to be on very familiar champions. We can see from Jin saying he is rank 5 master on Bard. Same for the Ahri on Loza, and same for Gragas as well. So very familiar on these champions, played them a lot. So hopefully they're looking for a better performance, and they are looking to bring this to a game 3.
They certainly will be. And Freudian slip on the Alistar as well, so fingers crossed he shouldn't slip and miss that headbutt pulverize combo as they head into the lane phase. But generally speaking, once you've had that bit of practice on Alistar, it's relatively easy to get that combo going on a regular basis. But we are going to be jumping onto Summoner's Rift, ladies and gentlemen, for potentially the final game of the day if TGR can push this through to a second victory. But Gaming Emotion White will certainly be looking to throw a spanner in the works for the enemy team as they head into their own jungle, and they're going to be looking to turn this into a 3-game series, but TGR certainly don't want it to go that way.
It does look like they're going to go for fairly passive starts once again. Unfortunately, as much as we would like to see a 5-man invade onto the blue buff, that doesn't seem to be the case. Meanwhile, we do see Wilson catching out Chin and Loza moving around into the enemy half of the river, but nothing going to come of it.
I feel like catching out was a strong phrase for what happened there.
Vision.
They saw
the
each other.
Strong crowd control that comes out from Orianna at level 1.
Yeah. Crazy damage when you can press shield.
Yeah, I know, right? The damages. But we do see that Gragas, funnily enough, going for a strange beginning. No items at level 1. Decided that who needs items in the current meta?
Who needs items in the current meta? We are going to see, as you say, very standard starts across the board. Not a lot going to happen before that 2-minute mark. I don't think he has either.
I think he's
no,
noticed. He's
noticed. He's going to go back to base.
So, not a great start for Enza. Ah, there we are. He's decided to get his items. He is going to... He forgot his trinket. Wow, alright.
He's going to rush. He's got to go... This is actually really bad. He's not going to get to the jungle for this standard start time. Nope. So Enza... not good. Not good for him at all.
He might just solo the blue out. That might be a decision that they choose to do.
Yeah. Or
they might just start the Gromp and then hand it over to... Oh, they are just going to start the Gromp and hand it over to him. That's really bad for Ginseng because the enemy are going to get that early level 2. It's going to
use a pot as well.
Yeah, it's going to look like they have the early level 2, but they're not going to have it. And with a flash pulverize into headbutt, that could definitely be bad news for the bottom lane of GIM.
Yeah, certainly could. We'll see if they're going to be able to take advantage of that scenario. Chin starting off with that Raptor camp, so he's going to be able to go up to the top lane with a little bit of extra experience. They'll be looking to try and force an advantage up in the top lane up against that Gnar, but I don't really know how that matchup goes, to be honest. I mean, Fizz has been seen a lot in this top lane, but generally speaking, Gnar was a bit less of a common pick while Fizz has been up there, so I'm not too well versed in this matchup, but talk me through how you feel this lane is going to pan out.
Well, in terms of the matchup, generally it's in favour of Gnar in the early game, purely because Gnar has range, and Fizz struggles, just like he does in the mid lane against Rage champions, because their auto attacks do a lot of damage to him. You can see he's only got 29 armor, so he's not especially tanky against those base autos coming out from Bake and Sizzle procs. However,
I didn't even know the base could auto.
But even though the early game might struggle, the moment he hits level 6, he does suddenly become a threat thanks to the ignites that he has in lane. And if he times it right and he goes on to Bacon when he's in this mini Gnar form, he's definitely going to be in a strong position to 1v1 him out. So it's really going to depend on how much pressure Bacon can apply in the early game during these early stages of the laning phase. And at the moment, he's doing a pretty good job.
Out of curiosity, does Ignite deny the health gain on going into Mega Gnar form? Speaking of Mega Gnar form, actually, Big Sizzle Prox is going to be turning into that giant dinosaur. He's going to be knocked up by Enza as he enters the lane. A nice dodge out by Chin. Will get away from the wallop. The Ignite is going to go down along with all of that damage, and Enza picks up the first blood of the game.
Yeah, he should have flashed a lot sooner there, but that was a nice gank from Enza. He realized that the jump was already down for Bacon, and he, with his escape gone, he felt like he could definitely walk in and pick up a nice easy kill onto Bacon. So they do get the flash out of Bacon. He will be able to TP back into lane, so he's not going to lose too much in terms of farm, but definitely a nice first blood for the side of GIM White. So very good start for GIM White, much better than their last game.
Absolutely. So do you know if the Ignite does deny the health gain or not?
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't, because what Ignite does is it reduces health regeneration, so things like heal, whereas the ultimate from Gnar just gives you a flat health bonus, so it increases your maximum health. So that, as far as I'm aware, shouldn't be nerfed, judging by what Ignite does, because Grievous Wounds reduces healing effects, and as far as I'm aware, that doesn't actually... It's not actually a healing effect, it just gives you flat HP.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense, so that's not quite going to be the counter that I had in mind, but certainly still a lot of damage going to come from that Ignite. You still have a lot of pressure by using that ability and can really basically win you the lane, and without that Ignite they wouldn't have got that kill in the lane just now, so obviously worth it so far, but Chin being very aggressive, heading towards Swift. Had he checked a little bit deeper, he might have been able to get the kill onto that Evelyn.
Or at the very least, he would have got a flash out. But meanwhile, in the top lane, even though he's got the first blood, Chin didn't get the first blood, but while the first death is on to Bacon Sizzle Prox, he's still doing very well in the farm. That the fact that Chin had already used his teleport in the early game meant that he had to walk back to lane while Bacon was still able to farm, and with the lane pushing in his favour, he got a nice freeze up in the top lane, which has allowed him to build up a very nice CS lead over in that top lane. So, bit of a repeat from last game. Very good performance from Bacon on that Gnar last game, and he has become a very popular pick in this series so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more Gnar coming out tomorrow, and we'll have to see if this works out overall for the side of TGR.
We will have to see indeed, as we see the 500 gold lead starting to come out on the side of Gaming Emotion. Obviously that first blood being a major factor in that across the board. CS very, very even. Bacon Sizzle Prox doing what he can. Has hit level 6 now, so Chin has to be incredibly careful.
Ooh, Gragas ganking in the bot.
Certainly is, and he's going to be able to get onto Swift. A lot of damage coming out here. The barrel slam is going to be there. That's what it should be called.
The barrel slam, I like it.
Barrel slam, it's called
the combo
rage, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but it's the combo of his barrel roll with Drunken Rage, so...
Oh, maybe, yeah. See, I just named a combo, I swear. That was,
yeah,
that was the intention.
Munch Limited.
Yeah, I'm going to put a copyright on that and get it patented. I'm not sure that's how patents work, but neither is Enza, as he doesn't quite manage to pick up the kill onto Swift.
Ooh, mid's going to get spot out.
Wilson is going to be able to find Enza in the jungle, but Ginseng is there as well. Wilson stunned up against the wall twice. He has to use that barrier very early. The Ignite is ticking, but a nice two-man Shockwave is going to get onto Enza and Ginseng. Can they follow this one up, though? Enza taking huge amounts of damage and could be in a lot of trouble. The headbutt pulverize comes through, and he's going to fall. Loza flashing forwards with that Spirit Rush, picks up a kill. And in the meantime, Swift is chasing away Ginseng, and this invade has gone completely wrong for Gaming Emotion. But Jin Kisaragi is going to be able to save his support and turn it into
a ultimate in the top.
Up in the top lane, we do see Bacon Sizzle Prox in a bit of trouble, but he's about to turn Mega Gnar, and this is all going to be turned on its head. Or is it? No, he doesn't go for it. He definitely could have won that fight.
Decided to play it passive. He knew that Chin still had his the playful Trickster available, and so if he'd committed and missed the ultimate, then it definitely would have spelt doom for Bacon. But now Chin, his ult, with Bacon's ultimate about to run out, he might look to go aggressive once again, but decides to go against it. So still big CS lead built up for Bacon. He does have the experience advantage as well as the CS advantage, but Chin with his teleport just going to take it easy. But to go back to that invade in the jungle, initially it does look good, but I feel like Loza held his ultimate for a little bit too long here. He waited, he wanted to try and save it, try and get the charm onto Wilson, but unfortunately in the end he did have to burn his ultimate, and overall they traded 1 for 1, which isn't an awful trade. You do get all of the summoners out of Wilson, which means he's going to definitely be an easy gank opportunity in that mid lane the moment Enza hits 6. And as I say, he's just hit 6 now, and Loza, when he gets back into lane, his ultimate should be available, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a gank coming towards that middle lane. No,
I would not be surprised to see that at all. Obviously, Orianna, another one of those champions with low mobility, not having much in the way of self-peel aside from the ultimate and the slight speed up that you do get from Dissonance. Dissonance not going to be the spell being maxed here though by Wilson, is choosing to go for that command attack as the first option to scale. And I mean, generally you can see pretty much all 3 abilities being the one to max for that Orianna. It's one of the few champions that has merits on all 3 abilities for maxing them.
Yeah, that's definitely a viable option. I mean, maxing Q just means that you have slightly higher damage per second in terms of team fights, because at max rank it has about a 3 to 2 second cooldown, so you can just keep popping it, have consistent damage coming out along with your auto attacks, as we know they do scale with your AP, so your auto attacks later into the game start doing a lot of damage. So it does definitely work out. Personally, I like to take 3 points in the W and then max the Q, so that way you still have sufficient wave clear while maintaining very solid DPS going into the mid game. But obviously that's just a personal preference. Maxing Q in lane is definitely a viable option and something that a lot of professional players do. Meanwhile, we do see a bit of deep vision coming out from Enza. Really good vision control. It's what you need to do against Evelynn. You want to put the vision on the camps so you can see what camp she's on, as the moment she takes damage, she becomes visible. Everyone is able to see her while she's taking damage, so nice vision, deep vision coming out from the top half of the map. And now they know that Evelynn is hanging around the bottom side, which means that GIM's bot lane can play a bit more passively. Absolutely. Meanwhile, in the top,
up in the top lane, we do see a gank coming through and a nice explosive cast. Knocks Bacon Sizzle Procs back away from his tower. The Ignite is going to be down, and Chin is going to be able to pick up his first kill of the game.
So this is exactly what I was saying. The moment he's in Mininar, he becomes a very easy target for Chin. Meanwhile, in the bottom...
Oh, the flash pulverized Jin is going to be knocked back. A nice tempered fate onto 2, though, and Jin is going to be able to flash to safety. Beautiful play there by Ginseng, protecting his AD carry perfectly.
So hopefully we're going to get a replay of that beautiful play from Ginseng just to show everyone what he did there. So you can see the gank coming in. Evelynn is moving up from behind through the river, and then Freudian Slip sees this opportunity. They group up, he flashes in, double pulverize, knocks Jin back, and it looks like it's his death. But that beautiful Tempered Fate knocks holds up 2 of them in the Zhonya's Hourglass, giving Jin plenty of time to
Followed
escape.
by the Cosmic Bind as well.
So very well played from Jin, and we were debating whether or not he was familiar on the champion, but with plays like that, you can definitely say that he is a Bard professional.
He certainly is. And definitely not going to be barred from this game with that skill. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just going to give up on trying to do puns today, but we are going to see Chin heading back into this top lane. 20 CS down now against Bacon Sizzler Procs. Up on that Gnar, however, obviously does have the kill and the assist, so gold-wise they're going to be almost even. Slight advantage to Chin, in fact. So he's going to be more than happy with that one. And across the board, the CS relatively even. A 10 CS lead in that mid lane, and or more like a 15, and the same in the bottom lane. But obviously with the 20 CS going in favour of Bacon Sizzler Procs, across the board is relatively even. The gold lead starting to get a little bit ahead for Gaming Emotion, only at 1,500 though, so nothing to write home about just yet. It is going to be nice for them heading towards the mid game, though. It is going to mean they do have that slight edge. We'll see if they can use that to snowball into something more substantial. The Luden's Echo has now been finished on Loza, but the Magical Journey is going to be used by Ginseng. 11-2 does get caught by the Cosmic Binding, but it does not stun him up. He's going to be able to jump to safety with that rocket leap. Rocket jump, whatever it's called.
Something that you briefly mentioned on is the completion of Luden's Echo in the mid lane for Ahri. While I mentioned earlier that generally if that lane is left untouched, Orianna should outscale the Ahri, purely because of the dagger. Meanwhile, red buff is being invaded.
Certainly is. Freudian Slip could be in trouble, but they're deciding they don't want to go for this fight right now. Gaming Emotion just want to try and take away this rift, or at least disrupt it. Tempered Fate is going to be used, but it doesn't connect as Freudian Slip gets knocked up by Enza. But 11-2 has arrived now, getting some DPS over that wall. But they have to be careful with using Smite here. He is going to go for that, but the Dragon is going to be the next objective. But he had 2 stacks available, so not too long of a cooldown on that similar.
Yeah, they do take the red away, fairly uncontested. That's the ultimate gone now for Evelynn. They do sort of look like they're heading for a dive, and knowing that the ultimate from Swift is down meant that they're in a good position. They do have the ability advantage, even though Tempered Fate is down, but it looks like they're just going to apply pressure on the tower. They're going to have Gragas hanging around, meaning that TGR can't really fight. Meanwhile, they do engage.
Really nice spell shield there from Jin Kisaragi. 1 or 2 more auto attacks will finish this tower, but they're not going to be able to find it just yet. I feel like he could have tanked the tower for a second there just to finish that off. Obviously, Headbutt and Pulverize were both on cooldown, so it would have been relatively safe. But deciding to play it a little bit safer, I'm just going to finish this one off now with that minion wave. And a little bit of pressure on the Dragon now that they have that tower advantage in the bottom lane. It's going to mean they can go a little bit deeper with their wards.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You can already see that they have great deep vision around the enemy red buff for the side of GIM, so impressive performance. They're performing much better this game than they did in the last game. Much better vision control, meanwhile picking their fights much more cleanly. They have started the Drake. I wonder if Swift is going to choose to go in.
He certainly is, but is he going to be able to do anything? No, he's in fact going to be going down as Loza jumps over the wall with this Spirit Rush, and Gragas, Scumbag Enza, takes the kill with the explosive cast. And Loza looking for Wilson. He gets the charm. He had one last stack of Spirit Rush available as the On the Hunt is going to be used. That forces the flash out of Wilson. and they pick up 2 kills and a dragon and now head towards the mid lane.
Yeah, really nice, well, questionable decision-making from the side of TGR, because I think they accidentally went through the Bard portal when they weren't supposed to, and that ended up costing them their life. I mean, Swift did try very hard to steal the Drake away, but unfortunately he was outsmited, and they did lose that first Drake, but 11-2 lost his life as well, so bit of a misplay from the side of TGR, but they do end up picking up the Drake as well as the mid tower on the side of GIM. So nice advantage built for them. They're now posturing around the top lane, looking to take that final outer tower and extend that already 4,500 gold lead.
They certainly will do, and if they can take this one, it's going to open up so much of TGR's jungle to them. They're going to basically be able to push that line of vision further into TGR's jungle, and it's going to be so hard for TGR to be able to contest for that vision, and it just opens up all of the objectives on the map for them a little bit better. They're going to be able to rotate wherever they like. They're going to be able to go for those future dragons with much better vision coverage and much better vision denial as well.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. I mean, you can see a really nice line of vision in their own side of the jungle, so they are prepared for if GIM White decide to invade into their half of the jungle. But as you mentioned, TGR looking to extend their vision line into the enemy jungle. They do want to bring themselves back into this game. It's definitely not beyond the realms of possibility to come back. They're only a little bit behind, but again, we haven't seen the performance from Evelynn that we'd like to see. That early game pressure, the early game power that can come from an Evelynn really hasn't been abused from the side of TGR or any Evelynn that we've actually seen today, which is a little bit unfortunate, but perhaps as the game goes on we might be able to see a bit of a redeem. But we do see GIM moving to the top half.
They certainly are. They're looking to try and take this final tower. Ginseng going very aggressively far forward, but nobody really able to contest for it as the magical journey comes through. 5 members for GIM up in this top lane. They're going to be able to take this tower. Can they turn it into a fight? Swift is going to get caught by the explosive cast. The Spirit Rush is going to be used as Swift has to flashback. It was a beautiful shockwave onto all of the members of GIM there, but it's not going to be enough as Swift ends up finally going down. Freudian Slip going to follow. And that is going to be a 2-0 in favour of Gaming Emotion, and they continue pushing.
Yeah, really nice engage from the side of Enza. Meanwhile, Gnarl onto 4.
Gnarl onto 4. As you say, the Shockwave is not going to be available, though, and all of Gaming Emotion are going to be able to survive the encounter, but it does keep that tower alive.
Yeah, that was a crazy re-engage from Gnar. I mean, to start this fight off, we do see Enza going in. He body slams onto Swift, gets the knockback. Unfortunately, there's no real follow-up. The charm just catches, but they do land the ultimate onto Swift. Unfortunately, that Tempered Fate does hold Swift in place for Enza to get in to pick up the kill onto Swift, but Freudian Slip does a very good job of keeping everyone in the backline. Meanwhile, we do see the Shockwave coming out, or it did come out earlier on to pick up a nice bunch of them, but they just didn't have the damage. Meanwhile, Bacon Sizzlebrox jumps in, gets a really nice Gnarl. Unfortunately, it doesn't land. It doesn't manage to successfully stun anyone, and with no real damage coming out from Wilson, they aren't able to pick up any kills. Meanwhile, while all that's happening, they do pick up a kill onto 11-2.
However, he did manage to get that tier 2 tower in the bottom lane as Freudian Slip gets caught out. Not really the best position for him to be in. After his AD carry dying there, he probably shouldn't have been anywhere near at that point, but it's going to be another kill picked up for Gaming Emotion. So TGR, honestly, doing pretty well off the back of that. We saw Wilson manage to pick up a free kill onto Ginseng as the rest of his team based. He was the last one to go back, and Wilson was able to catch him out. And then they get this bottom lane tier 2 tower as well. So a decent trade for them. Had they not just lost the
Swift.
2 members. Oh, Swift in so much trouble right now. Chum the Waters doesn't land, but it just doesn't matter because Jin Kisaragi is going to be there to throw that glaive at him and finish off the kill. It's going to be the bottom lane tier 2 tower going down now for Gaming Emotion. And they've just opened the map wide for themselves here, and they're going to be able to go basically wherever they please. I'm amazed they're not really playing Mundo right now, because honestly there is nothing that TGR can do to stop them heading towards this tier 2 tower. I don't know if TGR will be able to defend this. They do have decent wave clear on Orianna, but in the meantime, Bacon Sizzleprox is going to be able to take tower up in the top lane. Tempered Fate not really going to be able to do much as Loza comes in with that Spirit Rush. He's going to be able to pick up 11-2, but a 3-man Shockwave going to do so much damage. Loza having to flash away from this one with the Orbit Deception going out behind him. They're not able to pick up a kill though, and this is the same thing over and over for TGR. Getting these beautiful Shockwaves out, but there just isn't the damage to follow them up.
Yeah, I mean, that whole fight started with a bit of a whiff Tempered Fate. You can see it only lands on the minions, not really anyone. So then Ninja sees 11-2 slightly out of position, gets the charm from Loza, enables a really nice follow-up. And that's when the fight starts for the side of TGR. A really nice 3-man Shockwave, but as you said, there just isn't the damage. It was a very clutch ultimate, but because of the on the hunt popped by Jhin, they just all managed to escape with barely any health. Meanwhile, GIM White do successfully pick up that middle tier 2 tower, and now with 5 towers to 3, they have a comfortable 6,500 gold lead. So while it did look like a bit of a sketchy fight from the side of GIM, they do pick up a kill and a tower and escape successfully. So I kind of want to say well played. However, it was a bit of a dodgy engage, and we'll see how that we'll see how they now manage to transpire this. With Dragon Life, it does look like they're going to be heading towards that next objective.
Baron is now on the map as well, and we've seen very early Barons across the board so far this tournament. We'll have to see if anyone opts to go for something like that, or whether or not they'll decide to just opt to go for this dragon. I would expect the dragon to be the objective on the cards for these guys. And looks like the pause is already over. Some players just having a couple of little issues, but they've all been resolved, and we see Gaming Emotion heading towards this dragon. With a 6,000 gold lead, they should be able to secure this objective without too much contention, but TGR are here to prove me wrong. They're looking for this fight. Bacon Sizzle Procs is about to turn into Mega Gnar. He's got the ball on him. Can they get this Shockwave? Gnar ultimate combo. It doesn't look like it. Freudian Slip is a nice knockup, but they don't go in. And Freudian Slip gets caught out. Jhin able to capitalize on that one with the teleport. The dragon is going to go down. It goes to Gaming Emotion. Shockwave onto 3 though. Can they get the Gnar ultimate? No, he turns into Mini Gnar. He already did it anyway. And Bacon Sizzle Procs is going to be going down. Swift gets taken down by the Ignite. As Jhin is looking for more. He wants to finish off Wilson. The Tempered Fate is going to guarantee them this kill. Jhin should be able to finish this one off with the Urgent Strike. Double kill comes through for the fish. And Gaming Emotion head towards the Baron.
Yeah, so we can see they all group up. Freudian Slip, unfortunately, doesn't get the flash pulverize that he needs, and he drops immediately. Doesn't even get a chance to ult. And this looks so close. A really nice spell shield from Jhin prevents the Gnar ultimate from landing onto him. And while this is a really nice Shockwave, it's just a little bit too late. And I don't know where Tristana is in any of these fights. It seems to be a constant 4 versus 5, and unfortunately with no damage coming out from the side of TGR, it just prevents them from winning any of these fights. They're just, while the goal difference isn't that big, they just have no damage. Evelyn isn't putting out any damage. Tristana isn't putting out any damage. And while Wilson is playing out of his mind, he's really doing his best, there just isn't the follow-up, and that's the biggest problem with Orianna. We saw this last week with XL on Ped. Ped managed to get a bunch of really nice ultimates off, but because there was no follow-up from the rest of his team, there was absolutely nothing he could do, and the same thing is happening here. It's really nice play by Wilson, but because there's just no damage from the rest of his team, he just can't do anything. So unfortunate for Wilson, but that is just the nature of Orianna and the nature of the comp. So they do now have the Baron Muff, and it does look like they're going to start sieging one of the 3 lanes.
Yeah, and it looks like top lane should really be the best option for them. It's the only tier 2 tower remaining on the map that Gaming Emotion need to take. However, Jhin could be in trouble here. Bacon Sizzle Procs is looking for this fight as Swift enters the lane, but he's not going to be able to find it with that leap, and Mega Gnar, unfortunately, is not going to be used.
Yep, so unfortunate gank there from Swift. I feel like he would have actually put himself in a large amount of danger. One Gnar ult comes out the top.
It does indeed. Jhin in a lot of trouble. Chum the Waters is not going to connect, and now he's in so much trouble. The deep water just too deep for that fish, and he goes down. But in the meantime, we see the mid lane being pressured by Gaming Emotion. They're looking for this inhibitor.
Tempered Fate.
Oh, Wilson does get caught out by that. It's going to deny any kind of way play. A lot of damage onto Wilson, but a nice shield is going to deny the kill. Freudian Slip gets stunned against the wall. They're not going to commit to this fight with Bacon Sizzle Procs on the side. Don't want to go for a 4v5 underneath a tower. Yeah,
it is getting very low. They might continue this siege. It does look like Swift still in base, though, heading towards the mid lane. And while they do have the numbers advantage on the side of TGR, they are still fairly low, so we'll have to see whether or not they can keep this tower alive, but it doesn't look like it.
It's getting taken incredibly low. Ends up taking huge amounts of damage. These charms just not quite able to connect for Loza, though. The siege minion is going to be able to slowly but surely tick away at the tower's health, but Gaming Motion just not quite able to finish this objective off. And this is one of the downsides of running an AD carry like Sivir. You just have such short auto attack range. It's so dangerous in that scenario to push forward and try and get those auto attacks on the tower.
Yeah, they really need the split push pressure coming out from the side of Chin in the top lane, because as long as he is there, as long as he's consistently applying pressure, they'll keep it in a 4 versus 5 scenario. And while they're in a 4 versus 5 scenario, it makes getting a pick so much easier onto their relatively squishy comp. You know, they have a massive level advantage over their opponents, and you can see that if a single charm lands onto Wilson or onto 11-2, they're immediately going to drop with the follow-up coming out from GIM. So it's really important for Chin to keep this pressure up. So it was a really nice pick for them to... Meanwhile, a charm lands onto 11-2!
It does indeed, and 11-2 once again getting caught out by Loza. Loza has been doing incredibly well with these charms to pick up the kills, and 11-2, unfortunately for him, has been the target of a lot of those love hearts. And I'm sure he isn't loving it right now as Bacon Sizzle Prox is trying to desperately get back into his base.
Rotations.
Flying across that wall with the magical journey, and now this is their opportunity to finish off this tower. But the hard engage is going to come through. Shockwave onto 2. Jin Kisaragi is going to be going down. That's the AD carry finally taken out as Wilson is going to fall, and that is going to be the MVP for TGR taken down finally as Bacon Sizzle Prox with a nice Gnar ultimate, but it's not going to be enough, and this is finally the tower taken down 3 for 1 so far. Wilson, despite his best efforts, just cannot seem to win these team fights, and that is going to be the inhibitor take.
Yeah, that was a really nice engage there from the side of TGR. It is a 4 versus 5, but you can see really nice Evelyn ultimate into a really nice Shockwave. Does pick up 2, and the fight looks like it's going really well for TGR, but then all of a sudden Swift gets dropped by Chin, and Chin is just doing so much damage. He literally picks the target that he wants, and he kills them. He kills off Evelyn first, he kills off Orianna, and then it's just clean up for Chin. Like, while they do manage to kill the Sivir, they just don't have enough damage to deal with the multiple threats coming out from the side of GIMY. It enables them to pick up that middle inhibitor now. They extend their gold lead to a 12,000 gold lead, and with Dragon coming up soon, I expect them to pick up the Dragon and then head towards one of the other lanes to look to close out the game.
They certainly should, and we'll see if they're going to be able to go for that close or whether it's going to be a long, long way away just yet. And an interesting item pickup on this Bard.
Yeah, so one of the new items that came out fairly recently is the changes to Zeke's Harbinger. And basically how it works is you bind to a target, very similar to what you do with Callista. And after you passively gain stacks when you're within range of each other, and then when the support activates it, it gives a massive ability power boost and a critical chance strike boost. So basically, your AD carry when you pop it almost has 100% critical strike. So critical strike chance. Sorry. So really, yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister that one, but. Yeah, it's a massive buff and boon for your Sivir. And with an AD carry like Sivir, who's not necessarily a hyper carry, even if you're critting every single auto attack, then it doesn't matter if you're not a hyper carry, because you're going to hurt. Like, it's literally like running into a brick wall or even a tank. You're just doing so much damage. Meanwhile, and they're going a bit of aggressive.
Yeah, Bacon Sizzle Prox taking a little bit of damage there, but going to be able to trade it back onto Enzo.
Charm
landing again. Loza doing absolute work on this Ahri, but Swift is looking for the flank. They're looking for the fight. As On the Hunt is going to be used. A beautiful Tempered Fate is going to deny the re-engage. A Charm lands yet again, and Swift is going to fall along with Freudian Slip. Only 2 on the ultimate, but Gnar gets across the entire team. But there's just no follow-up as the cleanup comes through. That's going to be the 5-man ace double kill for Chin, and this is surely going to be game for Gaming Emotion. As they head towards this mid lane, they should be able to clear away these minions. 30 seconds on the spawns, and it's in fact going to be the surrender vote coming out from TGR. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going into a game 3.
Yeah, so pretty much we do have a replay of that final team fight. While it does look like a beautiful flank from the side of TGR, he gets a 4-man ultimate off, but that Tempered Fate completely stops the engage, enabling JM White to turn it around and start their re-engage. Now at this point, you want Bacon Sizzle to get his ultimate off, but you can see how uncoordinated they are. TGR's ultimate comes out after the ultimate. Imagine an Orianna ultimate at that point in time. It would have been beautiful, but they weren't quite as crisp. They didn't work together. They didn't combine their ultimates and damage on top of each other. So we can definitely see potential coming out from TGR. They won their first game, and it did take them a while, but they definitely have potential in their lineup. We saw a bit of poor coordination this game, slight superiority in the mechanics from GIM White with the amount of pressure that Enza had, because he had a much superior game this game on the Gragas compared to his last game on Elise. So definitely a much better performance from GIM White, and I'm very impressed with Ginseng on that Bard. He had a phenomenal game. Some with Tempered Fates, but some also very impressive Tempered Fates.
Some game-changing Tempered Fates.
Yes.
And also Loza on the Ari, just landing so many crucial charms onto multiple targets.